Nithyanandam, everyone! Welcome back to the Kundalini Yogini. I am here today and so happy to introduce you guys all to Ma Shivamaya Nanda, one of my spiritual sisters who I've had the blessing of knowing for the last few years. And I'm really excited for you guys to get to hear her story today and all of the powerful breakthroughs and the ways she has experienced life newly through all of the spiritual truths and breakthroughs she has had over the years. So we're going to be hearing from her today, and you get to hear her story, and then you can ask all of your live questions to us. So throughout the stream, feel free to send your questions, and we will gladly take them at the end of this sharing. So without further ado, we will start with the Sadhguru Bundle, and then we will enter into the sharing. Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Tvanvatitam Gagana Sajrusham Tattvamasyati Daksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadhguru Bundle. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here, and Ma Shivamaya, Nithyanandam, and thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the channel today. I'm really excited for you to get to introduce yourself. So please let us know who you are, where you're from, to all the viewers, and how you. I guess we can start off with how your journey started. How did you end up seeking and in this path in the first place?
Yes, Ma Prasiddha, thank you so much for having me here on your channel. Hi, everybody. Yes, how did this journey start? Well, I guess I always have been very curious in terms of fundamental questions like, who am I? What is this whole world about? What is life supposed to be? What is the purpose of it all? And so seeking answers to those questions, that has always been there in my life. And actually, I was always thinking that the highest knowledge is available at university. So I ended up going to university. And then even when I got my diplomas, I was still thinking like, these answers are probably somewhere else than at university, because I learned a lot, of course, there, but not like that fundamental, deep experience of purpose of life and those kind of questions, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then I started doing yoga. I started doing some meditation. And at a certain point, two of my friends introduced me actually to His Divine Holiness Sri Nithyananda Paramashiva. And when I met Swamiji, like a whole different realm opened up.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can obviously resonate with that as well. But amazing. So how long ago was that you kind of initiated your journey?
Well, I started, I think, back in 2005 or something for the first time with yoga. So actually, then I already got introduced to the Vedic tradition, because that is where yoga comes from. But at that moment, I didn't know. I definitely didn't know where it was coming from. So, and in 2014, only I got to meet Swamiji. So then finally I found out about the whole Vedic tradition, about Hinduism, the origins of yoga and meditation, and all that it got to offer more.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. So, and I think so your first program with Swamiji was in 2014. And then I think we met at the first time in Nithyanandam, or at least I think that's when we were first talking, which was in 2016, right? The end of 2016? No. Yeah.
Nithyanandam was like this December 2015.
Yes, and then into the first year, into the first days of the year, yes. So I remember seeing you there, and like I was so new at that time too, and we were it's amazing to see from then till now even who we are and how much our lives have changed. It's
Definitely.
crazy because even then, right, we were both participants. We were, I don't know, maybe you can share also what you were doing at that time of your life, but I know I was just still in school. I was still living a really normal life in a lot of ways and only just starting to get into understanding Hinduism. And I knew that I loved Swamiji and I knew that he had given me so many tools to transform my life. And I just knew how effective it was. But outside of that, I hadn't applied a lot yet. I wasn't doing routine. I wasn't really doing much yoga yet. What about you? Like, where were you at that point in 2016?
Well, yeah, it's amazing to look back and see how much changed actually. But yeah, in the actually halfway 2014, I came to Inner Awakening. So that was the first program, and I got
Yeah.
introduced to it. Then I went first back after that program and continued like my own business. I was having my own business, freelancing, and also partially working in social work on societal change, basically
Oh,
social
wow.
transformation, and um, and when we met in 2015,
Yeah.
actually, just before that, I got the invitation to come to the Adinam for a year.
Oh,
And I
wow.
took that with both of my hands because I was thinking, like, this opportunity I will never let go.
Mm.
And that was beautifully happening, actually, because I woke up in the morning and the first thing that was on my head was I have to check my email. Well, that was never the first thing that was on my head. So I was like thinking, where did that came from? So I went downstairs and opened my email, and there was this invitation to come to the Adinam. And actually, I wrapped up everything in 1 month and went to India to be there for a year.
Mm.
And like back in 2014, in that first program, I got introduced and initiated into the science of completion, because Swamiji was at that time not initiating into third eye yet,
Mm.
not speaking about these kind of powers. The science of completion was everything,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
and
remember.
that completely changed my whole life, because I understood through these completion exercises that we did there that actually I was responsible for each and everything in my life. And I had never perceived life like that. Like
Yeah.
there were so many things that I thought my parents had already decided for me, society had already decided for me. And like there was a certain amount of freedom, but
Mm.
only a certain amount. And through that whole science of completion, and Swamiji explaining like, no, you are responsible for everything.
Yeah.
And that was such an amazing, like, made everything different in my life.
Yes, absolutely. I had the same experience just from the completion process. Yeah. So powerful. I think that it's like something I continuously come back to because I it's just so profound that I mean, even if that was the only teaching that, Swamiji ever shared to, for the world, is I've never to this day found anything more life-changing than the completion process. Literally. The way that literally you get to reprogram your entire experience of your present day and even your past and your future, because it allows you to be liberated from all of that baggage that you carry through your whole life, and also realize, which is the most important part, right, is that you have the reins in your hands. Like, you have the control, you have the remote control. Like you said, that was seriously my same click when I went to Inner Awakening a few years back too, and that mine was 2015, my first one. But that same thing, I was just like, wow, nobody's ever told me before that everything is actually in my hands, and I can absolutely choose if I'm in pain or if I don't want to be in pain, or if I want to be upset or if I want to be hurt or if I don't anymore. Am I tired of that? Okay, then maybe I stop choosing it. And that was so just shocking to me, because it's like a whole different mindset and perspective on life that I was never told. And I think most of us, right, are never told. We go through our whole life. Everybody is always only programming us to believe that, yes, oh yeah, it was his fault. Like, what a terrible boyfriend. Or like, yeah, like, she was totally wrong for doing that to you. Just like disown her. And those type of beliefs are much in our relationships, in our society. Like, and we aren't held accountable to just for our own experience, And yeah, maybe can you share more about, did you have anything in particular that you experienced pre-completion versus after the completion process? Like, were there any specific things you saw shift in your life after you got to go through that process?
Yeah, definitely. It completely changed literally every single relationship that I have. Because like always, I was trying to figure out whenever there would be a conflict or whatever. I was trying to figure out like who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
should this be solved, right? And suddenly that initiation in completion and Swamiji explaining how I am responsible for everything. And he did this beautiful process of completion with others in Inner Awakening. And then he said, like, okay, just imagine you being responsible for everything. What then you would do different in the main relationships in your life?
Yeah.
So I went through that exercise and I just started seeing, like, wherever I was feeling victim of certain things that happened in the past, people that had hurt me, that had done something for which I could still be like so angry or sad or whatever. That whole thing got shifted into a very powerful way of feeling and seeing, no, I am the only one who chooses how to feel, because I am the one, whether conscious or not, but I am the one who chooses how I perceive this situation and how I perceive what other people are doing. And I am the one who chooses to let it hurt me.
Yes.
And cleaning up so much of that, and literally it transformed the whole relationship with my parents so much. And actually how I am looking now back at my youth and how I always used to do till my first Inner Awakening program, that is completely different. I totally like rewrote my whole history.
Yeah. How is your relationship? How did you see it change with your parents in particular?
Well, like every there was actually quite some situations for which I felt still hurt.
Yeah.
And but in Inner Awakening, I cleaned all of that up. And then afterwards, when I spoke with my parents, I was able to like just explain to them without any judgment, without anything I wanted from them, just to able to explain to them, like till now I saw it this way, but now I'm understanding how it is my responsibility and how I just misunderstood this and this and this. And just by sharing how I updated my understandings about this, like also it gave so much of space for them and for the whole relationship to flower. And what also changed is like a very nice thing, actually. We were not used to tell like I love you.
Yeah.
And afterwards the program, I just told my parents, like, I don't expect you to do anything different, but I am deciding that from now onwards I'm going to tell you. And maybe the first few times it's a little bit awkward. Even that does not matter. I will just continue. And whether you like it or not, or whether you want to join in or not, you're completely free to do whatever you like. I'm just deciding now to go and express that way more because I feel that's what I want to do. So I started with that. And I mean, if I'm now looking back, like it has become so much a normal thing in our relationship, and not normal in the sense of taking it for granted, but like that space changed completely. And it is like I feel free to express whenever I want. And yeah, for them also. So
That's so sweet. That's amazing. I hear, I've heard so many, as you have, and all of the amazing, diverse people we've gotten to meet just through our spiritual community, being so global, and getting to have friends and, and community members from all around the world that we've gotten to interact with because of Swamiji and our connection throughout the years. It's so amazing to see and to hear, and it's always just makes me so grateful for the teachings of Sanatana Dharma that are being revived by Swamiji, because how much they have positively impacted our personal individual lives outside of any spiritual work that we do, like in conglomeration with one another or for Swamiji or with the organization, just in our personal lives, how much they have flowered and how much love has been infused in, and unconditional love and responsibility has been infused in our relationships is so, it's so profound to see, and I've had super similar experiences, of course, with my own parents and with other extended, loved ones, that I literally, there's people in my life that without a doubt would not even be in my life if I didn't have these teachings. It brought that much of a healing. Like I cut those people out because I felt so hurt by them. And I wouldn't even have the openness in my heart to have them in my life, and just take responsibility for giving them whatever I can give them, regardless of what they give me. And if not for this, it's literally the completion process, and of course the other, a few of many other powerful cognitions we've learned throughout the years. But it's just amazing, like, to see, right, like, all of the thousands of people we've seen that have that happen, right? It's not just me and you, it's like so many beings that we've seen blessed by these teachings. And I'm always so grateful for that. It's amazing to see and hear that transformation happen for everybody, And so in the last few years, you were, a lot of your time was in India, right? You were at the ashrams, or what we call the adinams. And what was your experience like? How did you feel? What changed in you during that time of actually being fully immersed in spiritual life 24/7, pretty much, right?
wow, what did not change actually? I mean, I might be physically looking kind of the same, but the inside, I think everything changed. Everything changed so much because I was having so many ideas about who I am, what is right and wrong in the world, and actually the most beautiful thing when being in the Adinam, so immersed in that space, and daily applying all of those teachings and being continuously surrounded by so many people who are also only doing that. So you keep each other integrated to these teachings, and you help each other continuously to the next level. That chiseled out, so to say, so many of my conditionings and wrong understandings about life that I would have never been able to just do on my own in such a speed.
Yes.
So yeah, that it is really, I felt always like the Adinam is the perfect laboratory where you can continuously go through this whole alchemy process, and you are fully imbibed in it.
Yes,
So
sure. Yeah, it's such a energy field. Like everybody who visits, even right when we have participants visit and everything, like you can just feel it's such a different space there. The energy level and that, like, the life energy which is there. So much of that, well, prana is like in everybody and everything. It's such a different, literally it feels like a different world, because like how everything functions is just it is like another dimension. And it's so beautiful to be able to be surrounded by, like you shared, like-minded beings. I think there's no gift greater than, the community we surround ourselves with. And it's so important in our spiritual journeys, because when we're isolated and or surrounded by people that also are just on a totally different going a different direction, it can feel disempowering. It can also just feel like much more difficult than when you're just always around it, and it helps you so much to feel in that oneness and feel life positive versus like life is beating you down, And I think that it's such a gift that there's centers like this around the world that are coming together for people, for seekers who are really looking for something more, and they want to be with other people that just are so devoted and dedicated to their connection to the divine, and everything. So it's amazing to see. And so Ma, when you were in India, what was your main like responsibilities, and what was your experiences with that, and how you expanded?
Well, I actually have been doing so many different things,
Yeah.
and actually, one of the things that I always wanted in life was to help people. I was always thinking like, okay, let's transform this world because we can make it better, definitely. Like there are too many people who are sick or poor or like in conflict, so many wars going on. There's so much going on in the world, actually. Let us change that. And uh, uh, the the funny thing was actually that I felt when I came when I first came to the Adinam, just all the things that I was doing, like literally everything that you do as a part of the mission is helping to that goal, but in different ways than you think.
Yeah.
So really, my mind also got cleansed of all of these ideas about even what I had from how that should happen.
Mm.
And the main thing actually that happened was like the whole switch to start running on Kundalini energy, and
Mm.
to start running just from out of love and excitement.
Yeah.
And then only I realized how much I had been running for years out of stress, out of things that I thought I needed to achieve,
Yeah.
or like
Mhm.
goals that I had, or things that I thought like, oh, if I miss out on that, that would be terrible. So many like living from basically what you want to avoid in life or what you really want to achieve. And then
Mm.
in the Adinam, I learned that whatever I do is not that important, but it is actually about the context from where it is coming from, which kind of an energy I'm fueled with whatever I'm doing. And
Ah, yeah.
that really changed so much, because
Mm.
when it was coming like from love and from just the excitement in the very moment, actually the results or the goals were no longer that important or something, and it was so
Yeah.
much easier to live just here and now and be fully engaged.
Mm.
And then basically whatever you do is like contributing to the world, is useful for people.
Yes, that's such a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's so true. It's all about that fuel that we're running off of, right? And Swamiji talks about that so much, is like shifting so much of our life, and our life outside here in the matrix, is like based off of outside drive. Like it's something outside of us which is making us do something. Whereas in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual dimension, you have to be able to drive yourself only by yourself. You have to have that internal energy, like you said, that internal fuel, which is literally is the Kundalini energy, that you just have that electricity for life. And it doesn't matter what is around you. If anybody is telling you something, if someone is making you do something or no, you have to be able to do that self-empowerment and motivation. And it's such an amazing skill, which we were all which we were told, we were taught by Swamiji, because it's like, I was thinking, where else do you ever get a chance to learn that, number one? And number two, the strength of us shifting into that space now is like the biggest gift you could ever give somebody in their life, because I know anything I try to do, anything I want to do, I can do. That's all. Like, I don't have that deep doubt or hatred to myself anymore because of that training, that we went through. And I know that you also have that space, and so many other people we know, and it's such a blessing. And maybe you could share too about, the tie into that, that energy space radiating through our bodies, right? How that can be facilitated by yoga. And I know you're such a yogini, and you have that deep love for yoga as well. And you've had a lot of physical healing as well, which maybe you can share about how much your body has transformed through authentic yoga, and how that has also given you access to that higher consciousness.
Yes, yes. Actually, when I met Swamiji, I was having a chronic disease, rheumatoid arthritis, and I was struggling with that for years. Western doctors did not have any cure for it. So I was taking medicine to suppress it, and that was basically it. And then when I met Swamiji, he first of all healed me from this disease, which was, of course, extraordinary, because I was not even aware that it was possible to get cured. And suddenly I was cured. So it took me actually a little bit of time to understand that I was really cured, and to stop with the medication and everything. And I mean, as we speak now, 3 or 4 years, I don't even know exactly how long. I am not taking any medication anymore, and I'm completely free of this disease. And actually, when I was a kid, I always loved to do sports. But when I got this disease, I had to stop all of that. It was not possible to do anything like that with my body. And so, I mean, when I got cured, and then in the Adinam, Swamiji made me also a yoga archaya even. That was something that I would have never, ever thought was possible. And then even I got introduced, of course, everything about that, to the Kundalini Raju and the Shiva Stamba yoga. And I mean, that was next level. And I have had so much of healing and transformation, because when you climb that rope, it is like literally your whole body becomes the representation also of all the non-physical elements of us, so to say. So like literally you can make a certain flip over to get into an asana, and then you have to cry, and so much leave your whole system, for which you feel like kilograms lighter afterwards. And I really experienced that for myself to begin with, of course, when I first did it. And then having the privilege together with you to teach people in the programs. I've seen it with so many people, like having such huge breakthroughs.
Yes, that's one of I'm so glad you brought that up too. It's really hard to even describe, like when we get to be in a large group and we witness all of these totally new people to all of these yogic sciences, getting to have those profound shifts in their understanding of what they're capable of is so just phenomenal to see. And I can't even believe, like, it's the experiences that we got to have and to learn. It was such a gift that we were given by our guru to be able to learn yoga actually from the source authentically. And it's just given me such a fuel to want to just share that as much as I possibly can, because I truly believe it's the answer everybody's looking for. It really is. Like, and this, what people are longing for and seeking for in the depths of their soul and their consciousness right now, feeling so much pain, feeling so much depression and anxiety and physical ailments and diseases. and disconnection ultimately from their self and from others, all of those solutions lie in yoga, in the yogic sciences. And I never, it took me a while to make that connection between the physical and the consciousness. I didn't really get it. I was like, what, how could your body have anything to do with your spirituality? I didn't get that connection. Only when I had these experiences like you have had with this authentic yoga, and you have those direct experiences of that union, that communion with the divine, and profound shifts in your experiences beyond your mind. You're like, wow, something's going on here.
Yeah, and it is truly amazing because, like I said, from 2005, I was doing yoga, but that was just from the context of moving the body, getting stress release, relax more, like those kind of things. But doing yoga with the right understanding of union with the cosmos and in the presence of a living avatar who is like, I remember we had this Shirsasana challenge around Yoga Day. And then at that time, I had never done Shirsasana. I was just imagining it would be impossible for me to get I could not understand like how to move this whole system in such a way that it goes up. I had no idea. And the beautiful thing that I feel really explains what is the huge difference in the authentic yoga, how it is meant from the scriptures, is like, I just told Swamiji, Swamiji, I have no clue how to get this body up. You have to do it. And then all I did was like making that base with the arms and the elbows on the mat, put my head on the mat. And there I just went up. And I remember like running around in the Adinam, getting really excited.
Yeah.
Like it just happened.
Yeah. Yes.
And I mean, that is when you're coming from the context, it is a physical exercise. You are thinking in terms of like, I have to practice, I have to train my muscles, and then one day it will happen. But with the presence of the avatar connecting to that super space of super consciousness, your will is enough to make anything happen.
Yes, that's such a beautiful point. And the most amazing thing is that it's just like so much of this knowledge of the authentic sciences, spiritual sciences, is just we're in ignorance about it. We don't know. And so we think that we can only experience, physical healing or even maybe some mental stability through yoga because that's all that anybody's teaching here. But this science has existed way longer than we even have record of. And it has been a science of initiation, of guru to disciple for a reason. It's because one flame can light the other, and it just like that the fire can be ignited. And so when we're in that energy field, yoga becomes something much beyond a physical thing. It becomes something we experience through the physical body, but is something so much more beyond just the physical. And we get that pure cosmic union. Literally, we get to experience with our consciousness to that larger consciousness, that super consciousness, whatever that you want to call it, however you connect to it best. That experience happens. It's not you don't have to believe it. You don't have to have knowledge about it. You just directly experience it. And that's why I feel like, I can't wait to see more and more people connect to these sciences, because it's too amazing to be missed, because it's a direct experience. Again, like you don't have to believe it. And that's what I've always loved about the teachings of Sanatana Dharma through Swamiji's, knowledge and initiation, and what he has taught us is that you don't have to believe. It's not about belief. It's directly experience.
Yeah, and actually, it's so beautiful that you touch upon this point, because it is nice to share that with the two of us together. I know you also have a Christian background,
yeah.
And like what I, from my background, actually never understood is like, yeah, you have a God somewhere, and there you have to connect with. And the like how I was experiencing, and what I knew about Christianity was not giving me the knowledge of the connecting point, that whole science of consciousness.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
That makes a huge difference, because then it is not a matter of you just have to believe because somebody told you or you read it or whatever, but you are actually completely understanding and experiencing all the connecting the dots.
Yes.
Does it make sense? I
Yes.
don't know how your experience is in that way.
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, for me that was exactly what I felt was missing as well. Was I had gotten to a certain point in my seeking where I understood and I did believe that there was something greater out there and there was a greater purpose for my life, and that I knew a being, a super intelligence was there because I had interacted with it in childhood, and like I had felt that calling to spirituality, but I didn't have any tools in front of me to tell me how I could experience it myself. Like I was seeking for that. I wanted to put the pieces together and have the direct experience. I didn't just want to stop there. I didn't want to stop at the story. I didn't want to stop at just going to church on Sundays. There was something I wanted much beyond that I longed for. And that's what led me down the path of Eastern religion. And of course, I kept, getting to the bottom of every religious path, and I would be done with it. And then I'm like, I still have more questions. So I'd go to the next thing that it led me to. But at Sanatana Dharma, I've never found something beyond the Sanatana Dharma, and the you can't even get through everything. I truly, in one lifetime, you could never even hope to get through all of the traditions and wisdom and philosophies and practices and direct experiences and gods and goddesses. And it's such a massive lineage and way of life that is in every dimension, that addresses every dimension of human life, and you can't even touch on it, and you're never left without an answer. There's always a further place to go, and that's what I love about it still.
Yeah, definitely. That is the same for me. I feel like it is so beautiful that it is a very holistic way of seeing and doing, like the spirituality, the science of it, the practice, that all is not cut up in pieces. It's all one.
Yeah, woven together.
Yeah. So really, like what started for me with yoga from the physical angle, actually, and some knowledge that I was looking for, now connected all the dots. And I could have never imagined actually myself doing religious rituals. When I look back at how I was quite a part of my life, I have called myself an atheist even.
Yeah.
So, but now I can, it does make so complete sense to everyday puja, to do everyday puja, and because it is just the best ritual to connect to whatever, to everything.
Yes. And in that space of gratitude too, I think you get filled with a very strong gratitude for life that is the highest quality, even like in terms of like the energies, right? The highest sattvic quality is gratitude, literally. The highest emotion you can feel is gratitude. And so when we're put in that space every day, like what a blessing to our lives. It's only a gift to ourselves, It's like, it really is. It's such a gift to ourselves. And I was just scrolling to the questions now so we could answer what our viewers are trying to get some knowledge on from you. So one person was just asking, what are you up to now in Europe? And maybe you could share what you're doing in Europe right now and how everything's going for you there.
Well, we are here very busy with setting up the Nithyananda Gurukul.
Wow.
The whole Vedic education system, which is of course together with the temples and the guru, the three main pillars of the whole Vedic tradition. So we're setting up the Gurukul here, and we have now like 2 times a week classes happening and expanding from there. So that is a beautiful, beautiful project.
Wow.
And like so many other things are happening. Centers starting to host program. We recently had the Atmalinga process, of course, with Shiva Vishesha Diksha, and now I'm daily giving classes in to learn how to do Shiva Puja for all the new initiates. And
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah. That is really amazing. And so many things are actually happening here in all over Europe, different countries. We have 50 countries altogether, I think, in Europe. So establishing everywhere centers so that people have places to go to. That is, of course, so important because online you can do so much, but to physically come together and have a sattvic meal, or like do the rituals together, or join yoga together.
Yeah. So
That is
so
like
amazing.
such a blessing.
It is for sure. It seems like really Europe has been growing a lot. You guys have had so many people coming. I've been seeing from all the pictures. It's like amazing to see. So
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I think even worldwide, like to the programs in
Yeah.
India, most people are from the US, and next is is Europe. I
Yeah.
think
I
because
I definitely think so. I could see it. That's just great to see. And then we got another question. Maybe you can explain. I mean, she was asking, Laura was asking about how to do the kumkum, third eye, and maybe you could explain why we do that as well, and also why we have the jatas, the dreadlocks.
yeah, well, the kumkum is processed turmeric. So turmeric, everybody knows, I guess, from because you can eat it.
Ah, yeah.
And the processed turmeric turns out like red, and that is what we use as bindi, and that is basically to activate the third eye. So the third eye is, of course, located here between the eyebrows, and that is an internal or an intra organ, so as we call it, and that is really, yeah. I mean, the third eye is worth a whole
I know. Whole
interview
video.
on its own. So, but it gets activated by the kumkum, and that's why we are wearing kumkum.
Yes, that's a beautiful explanation. And what about the jatas? I know you've had yours for quite some time too, right? Three or
Yeah,
4 years now? Yeah.
yeah. I think in 3 years. Yeah, in
Yeah.
2016, I got them.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, they are very beneficial when you are on a spiritual path for expanding consciousness. Because when you club together parts of the hair, make it into a jata, it generates some kind of a pressure point, a very subtle one, of course, but a pressure point altogether. So every jata creates a little pressure point on your head. And the way that activates your brain is really beneficial for expanding your consciousness.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's a long-standing tradition in Shaivism, especially in the worshippers of Shiva within Sanatana Dharma. You'll see all over India, especially the sadhus and anyone who worships Shiva will often have jatas, and it's thousands and thousands of year old tradition. So it's a part of our spiritual practice, part of our religious beliefs as well, and really important to our community. If for anyone that's wondering about why we all have them as well. And then we also got another question from Laura about taught that I was speaking in my last live about the 100 or so yoga poses that we do every day. So yes, that Laura, that's the Pratama Vinyasa Krama, which is our 108 asana sequence, and that's on the Nithyananda Yoga YouTube channel already. So you can follow those videos free from home and do sessions. And I think there's even live sessions going on all around the world. And do you host those as well? You do, right? The yoga?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. European time, 5:30 in the morning. So
Okay. Yes.
Amsterdam time. Then you can use time converter to to see what it is in other zones.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. So there's a lot of different time zones if you want to join in live, but you can also just do it straight from your home whenever your perfect time is in the morning in your schedule. You can follow the videos online, which is great. And I'm just scrolling through to see what else we got going on. Um, all right. So, and then one other thing maybe you can share from too is like why would you how would you explain the connection to deities and like the different gods and goddesses and maybe how that's evolved for you? Because like you said, you were going from obviously really skeptical and more like an atheist standpoint into incorporating these rituals in your life. So how has that grown inside you? Had that understanding, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, that is actually pure experiential. Because when we were there in Nithyanandam in 2015, the first program that I did was Inner Awakening, and that was actually presented as the science of completion. So there was nothing so much in terms of deities, and it was part of it, but it was not presented on the foreground. But Nithyanandam was really different because that was really presented as the introduction to the God particle. So I did not know what to expect. But then in one of the processes that Swamiji took us into, I remember we had to have in a certain pose where we held our hands like that and kneeling on our knees.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've done
And
that.
Swamiji was bringing down so much of energy, and you could really literally feel it like a blanket coming over like the whole hall.
Wow.
This kind of an energy. And we also, there was something with chanting. I remember that we had to like just come up the most inner sound that was coming up. And when I did that, it was Shiva, 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 Shiva. And so quickly it was coming that my mouth could hardly cope up with it. So that I was thinking, oh my God, where is all this coming from? It felt really coming from the core of my being. And then what happened at a certain moment was that I saw Shiva.
Wow.
I literally saw Shiva. I have no words whatsoever to explain that, but literally I saw Shiva just in front of me here. And then he went in through my third eye, through my heart inside, and like there was a bliss explosion. I had never ever experienced something like that ever before. I was ecstatic. I
Wow.
really had to like hold the ground, not to start running around and dancing and yelling at everybody like, do you know how blissful life is? Like literally, I was literally ecstatic, and that stayed for such a long time. Even 3 months after Nithyanandam, I was still like feeling cloud nine, literally, and like that was my introduction to deities. And of course, in the beginning, my mind was trying to grasp that whole experience and was telling me all kinds of nonsense, like, yeah, right. You are fantasizing, or you're just dreaming, or
Yeah.
whatever. But that ecstatic feeling was so deep, and it had transformed so much my whole experience of life so deeply that I could just not deny the experience.
That's amazing.
So I could not do
There you
anything else than finally tell that mind, like, you better get
go.
lost, because this experience is so real.
Yeah, that's
This
amazing.
is
So
Shiva
beautiful.
is just real, whether
And
I understand or not.
we were, could you explain too? They're wondering where you're from, what's your native language?
I'm from the Netherlands, so Dutch is my native language.
There you go. TNA, that was your question, I think. And just to quickly, obviously we were see we're so much just excited and desiring to share only obviously just life positive things and things and solutions for people and help for people to focus on negativity all the time and addressing things that aren't even based in reality. It's a waste of everybody's energy, and that's why we aren't spending so much time just addressing all this persecution. We're getting some questions about that, the accusations on our guru and all of this. There's just it's a huge conversation to have, but I've also made a whole video about it. And maybe if you want to say any words, feel free, Ma Shivamaya. If there's anything that you want to explain, what I would just say is also go to nithyanandatruth.org and you can see how long this has been happening. This isn't new for our community or for our guru or for any Hindu gurus in India. This is a very, very sadly common thing that the media has been very savagely attacking anyone whose strong stands for Hinduism, and it's a big religious persecution happening in India and has been happening for a very long time. So I think it's really taken out of context, especially from non-Indians. They don't even understand that that's all been happening at the same time, and there's a whole other story that you aren't even hearing or seeing. So I just hope that you guys take the time to actually hear the whole story and both sides of the story instead of media headlines, because even as most spiritual seekers know, even in the US or wherever you're from, Europe as well, in the spiritual community, it's kind of like joked about, but it's really known that like nobody listens to the news, even in the Western world, because it's extremely corrupt. It just is, and it's all like very political, and you have to understand the same things happening everywhere. So you're not getting the story that is the reality. And I mean, our friends, we know all of these wonderful women that are a part of this too, and they're personally saying nothing is happening to them. They're joyfully living their life. They're adults, and they have their free will to choose where they want to be, and they believe in our spiritual community and our guru, and they're saying that publicly. They're continuously saying that publicly, and their dad is only saying the opposite. And so it's just a family affair that has sadly been taken public. But if there's anything you want to say, Shivamaya, you can feel free as well to add on.
Yeah, what I would really love to say is that like transformation is not coming without resistance.
Yeah.
And resistance comes in different ways. We all know that from our own experience. If suddenly something big changes in our life, we are not like, oh, immediately I know how to deal with this very powerfully. No, we resist that, we struggle with it, and then finally we find our way. Mm-hmm. And like what Swamiji is doing, what this whole Vedic tradition stands for, is giving so much of powerful cognitions to continuously run our life how we want, and being able to flow beautifully with all of the transformation, and even make transformation into like our art of living. Living enlightenment is continuously living in such an open space that you are directly connected with all of the changing things continuously happening. And for there are actually only like very few people that completely love that. Yeah. There are a lot of people in the world that are resisting that. And from that resistance, all of this persecution can be understood, and understood also in such a way that you don't have to be powerless about it. Yeah. It is absolutely not right what is all happening in this persecution. But we don't need to be powerless about it. And we definitely don't need to question anything, because I have lived for so long in the Adinam. Like everything what is happening there is only like extremely auspicious. And what Swamiji is doing, like whether humanity understands or not, but Swamiji is the most loving, caring, most responsible being, going so far beyond what anybody of us can even understand or grasp or do in a million lifetimes.
Yep.
So like it is just, yeah, don't ever question that. I mean, just because so many people out there who are having vested interest and who are having hidden agendas, we have that experience and we are skeptical. That's okay. Test it out for yourself, but be open to this tradition because it has so much great to offer. And I mean, Swamiji is only purely gold.
Yes. And I think it's like one thing I'll ask you too is like you should be skeptical of your own skepticism and see
Yes.
what direction you're being skeptical. Is like I notice sometimes that people are skeptical of the most like life positive things and things that seem like too good versus things that are clearly like being used to manipulate, and they're though the questioning is not going in the right direction. So be more open to questioning in every direction, and you will actually end up at the truth, which is a process that we've done for years, and that's why we're where we are now, you know. And you can only do that for yourself. But again, I would say like hearing only listening to one human being's biased perspective won't also get you anywhere. You have to like directly find that truth and experience it directly for yourself. So that's all. I think that we should all bring maturity into our own inner space and into that conversation and have more compassion and not be so quick to jump on these bandwagons and criticize before we actually know what we're talking about, you know? So that's what I would encourage everyone to do. And Michael, I've already addressed that question multiple times you asked before, but he was a part of, our guru was part of Ramakrishna Mutt for many years. He studied there. There's still the Ramakrishna Swamis come to our campus. When I was living there, when Shivamaya was living there, they come and visit, and they're so happy to come see Swamiji. They still have a great relationship with Swamiji. I personally have seen it. So it's not something I've even read. It's something I saw with my own eyes. And so there's a beautiful relationship that's happening there between many different of the Hindu communities and Swamiji still to this day. There's a lot of religious leaders supporting him. They're just not being voiced or shown in the media. That's really all is happening over there right now. And yes, thank you so much, Shivamaya, for this wonderful discussion. It was so great to hear from you, and I loved just everything that got to come up in the flow of the conversation. And I hope that everybody could benefit in some way or another from this sharing. I'm sure they did. And thank you again for coming on here. And of course, thank you to our guru for guiding us to him and to each other and getting to facilitate all of this happening. And thank you guys all for your participation and your questions as well. I really appreciate everyone. And is there any last words you want to share before we close with the prayer?
Just a big thank you. Thank you for this conversation, and thank you everybody for watching. And I'll be available in the comments, so we can have a chat more further on there.
Wonderful. Yes, sounds great. We will end with the Purna mantra, guys, and feel free, again, like she said, to send any of your questions to us on the Facebook page or on the YouTube, and both of us will be active in responding. And you can, of course, check out her YouTube channel as well. I want to let you guys know about that too. Shivamaya has her own channel she makes beautiful videos on, so definitely subscribe. I will put her link to her channel in the description, and you can check out her content as well. So thank you guys again, and we will close with Purna mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Hari Om Tat Sat. Bhagavate Shri Nithyananda Paramashivamaya
Namastu.
Om Nithyananda. Nithyanandam, everyone.
Nithyanandam.